In like 20 minutes, I'm about to go on Piers Morgan's show. And I do want to, before going on, not that he's going to see this, so it's not about making him nicer to be on the panel. I do want to credit him. It seems like even Piers, who was slobbering over Trump during the 2024 campaign, it was embarrassing, is starting to go, Trump and MAGA are losing their cultural dominance. They're losing the goodwill that America had given them for some reason. And they're alienating the general public. And in his view, what he sees as the far left wokesters, how they alienated the American public and helped Trump get elected, is now being exhibited by MAGA. And if you don't understand, in the right-wing online world, the worst slur you can call someone, it ain't the ones you're thinking about. They love those. Not all of them. But it's woke. To call right-wingers woke is a MAGA slur. So let's watch Piers Morgan do just that. This is in the context of them just whining and moaning about everything. They're the ones in power now. You can't keep doing this thing of like, everyone's mean to us and hates us when you got all the power. You're the ones now being mean and hateful to other people with the power of the government. And they've already set up in flames the cultural goodwill and the shift, the vibe shift. You remember that vibe shift in podcasts and the brosphere and the Rogan sphere and online towards Trump for some reason? Again, it was very confusing, but it happened. That's already swung back. And liberals are ascendant, ladies and gentlemen. Me on the front with a horse. George! And even Piers Morgan gets it.
President Trump and MAGA skillfully rode the post-woke wave as that whole joyless mindset came crashing down. The left have become the sneering, censorious ogres demanding puritanical fealty. Conservatives were the ones having a laugh, to quote J.D. Vance, as star athletes honored the Trump YMCA dance and a nation bathed in woke tears.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It's going to get better. Just wait. He's setting it up to show his more right-wing audience, I agree, MAGA woke tears, we needed woke tears, and they sucked and all that, right? And it's not incorrect that some people on the quote-unquote far left became toxic in their rhetoric and alienated people, made them feel like they can't say anything, or you're bad if you're this identity or whatever, right? I think it was overblown by people like Piers Morgan. I think if they'd focused a little bit more on the leaders in power and the substantive issues and the actual economic policies and healthcare policies, then we would be in a better place instead of just focusing on online annoying lefties. But it had some impact. And now it's shifting. Just the quickest pause to request that you click the subscribe button, the simplest, easiest, freest way, completely free, to support the work that we do. Right below the video, click that subscribe button. Back to the video.
Well, last year's Super Bowl really proved the point. The ads were full of bros, burgers, and bikinis. The new president got a standing ovation. But how quickly things can change. Of course, it's difficult to maintain that renegade spirit when you're actually in power. You have to make unpopular decisions. People realize that you can't, in fact, please everybody all the time. And in light of the furious reaction to Bad Bunny's spectacular and largely non-political halftime show at this year's Super Bowl, it's worth asking whether the culture is now shifting. Is MAGA becoming a bit thin-skinned, a bit sneering, a bit censorious, a bit, dare I suggest it, woke?
Oh! He used the W-bomb to describe MAGA. Y'all are the woke. That feels weird. Because it works for him because they hate that term. And it to them, it means like snowflakes and sensitive. But it feels weird to describe MAGA as woke. Because obviously the original meaning of woke was a good one. You're aware of social and systemic and socioeconomic factors, and you're motivated to address issues in our system, you know? But then it kind of just became a shorthand for those annoying people online who scream at me too much. That's kind of what it became. And he's saying that it's no longer those because y'all won everything. MAGA won everything. But you still had this spirit of wah, wah, wah. And a lot of people have been adding commentary to this just a year ago. The New Yorker, or right? Is that what this is called? The New York Magazine? New York Magazine, not the New Yorker. had this piece that was all about the young MAGA stars who are celebrating the cruel kids table instead of the cool kids, the cruel kids, among the young, confident, and casually cruel Trumpers who, after conquering Washington, have their sights set on America. It's Monday, January 20th, the first night of Donald Trump's second presidency, and just a couple blocks from the Capitol building that has now pardoned MAGA army sworn 4 years and 14 days ago, there is, as there has been for the past several nights in restaurants, hotel ballrooms, and lobbying offices, a party for people who have never been happier about the direction in which this country's heading. They're drinking, smoking, flirting, networking, but mostly congratulating one another on their big win. And so people use this image as, look at how far that MAGA cultural shift has, how quickly that's reversed. And that what I think Americans are finding out is you kind of liked when they were on the sidelines screaming about the aspects to a more liberal culture that irritated you. But you're learning now when they actually have their hands on power, it's a hell of a lot worse than someone giving you an angry email because you complained about having to say your pronouns at the beginning of a meeting, right? People are realizing, oh, the viciousness, incoherence of vision, but maliciousness of intent, the actual policies, not to mention the rhetoric and divisive cultural energy that's being brought by this movement, that is so annoying. And it's making the country worse, both on the ground in a much more real, substantive way, tangible way, but also just cerebrally, culturally, socially. People are already going, these people are a little bit lame, actually. They have all the power and they're acting like they're the most oppressed people ever because Bad Bunny performed at the Super Bowl halftime show? They got all this power, they won everything, and they're all eating each other alive because none of them can agree on what they actually want to get done. They get into power thinking they're going to drain the swamp, and they fill it up deeper and sludgier than ever before. I think people are waking up to that. So you have Spencer Thomas saying everybody's writing think pieces about what happened here, but I think the answer is pretty obvious. Conservatives are just not that interesting. Give them a mic and its grievances about the culture and nostalgia for a past that never existed, and Jesus clutching an AR-15. That's a fun image. There's nothing about this movement that feels creative or forward thinking. That's what it is. They were good at the grievance politics. They were good at the sideline politics. Shouting, Biden should be doing this. Oh, liberals are getting too woke and irritating. They think a boy can become a girl. Ha, 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 ha. But once they actually are handed by the country power, it sucks. And people are realizing that. And that's why they so rapidly lost the goodwill culturally that they had, this MAGA movement. Now, if you don't believe me, based on that, Piers Morgan shifting, others, Rogan, Andrew Schultz, if you don't believe me, Tim Dillon, this movement's so irritating and uncool, and the fringe of it is so toxic. You think the far left fringe is toxic? Take a look at the far right fringe. That Nick Fuentes is literally getting un-white nationalized. This is why I told you, the one thing that can get Nazis to realize how horrible being a Nazi is not understanding how terrible the ideology is, but looking around at what a Nazi looks and sounds like. And watch Nick Fuentes have that realization.
The halftime show was in Spanish and all the performers were brown people. The message was, this is what America looks like, a mosaic of Latin peoples. Clearly it was political. Clearly it was a middle finger to white people. Weird take. Are you even a white nationalist at this point?
Honestly, I don't feel like one anymore. I feel like, do I want America to be a white country? Yes, I'm pro-white, but the movement has just been captured by losers and idiots. I'm kind of just done pandering. I fucking hate these people. When I look at what the movement has become, like the kind of impulses that have captured it, it's just kind of depressing. And I've always been forward thinking, and I've always been heterodox, and I've always been progressive in a way. And increasingly, I don't feel like I fit.
I'm a progressive racist. That's his argument. I've always been a much more progressive racist in that I really like guys. I hate other races, but I really like guys.
In with that anymore. It used to be the case that if you were against white genocide, if you're pro-white, if you're against
Who's for
immigration,
that?
like that is what it meant to be on our side. Now it's like you have to be a Republican culture warrior. I have to be spun up about the Super Bowl halftime show.
Right. So a lot of people are going, you're getting so uncool and annoying that even Nick Fuentes is... This is how annoying you got. That Nick Fuentes is considering not being a Nazi. What a world, huh? You got so annoying and uncool in your criticism of Bad Bunny. And that's a proxy for a lot of issues, that you're always whining and moaning about stuff. Like what you always need your safe space, like what you accuse the wokesters of being. So much so that Nick is going... At one point, he was quoted as saying something to the effect of, if the Turning Point halftime show, if I have to prefer the Turning Point halftime show over the Bad Bunny halftime show, then F it. I don't even want to be a part of this movement anymore because the Turning Point thing was so uncool. So that's a very notable event.